This video will show you how to slip trail. What I have in the classroom are several of these bulb squeezers. They look like this blue thing right here. Just to teach you a little bit about it, if you're interested in a different tip size, they simply twist off and you can swap them out for something thinner or thicker depending on your preference. These might already have slip in them ready to go, but depending on how long they've been sitting or if they are empty, I will teach you at the end of the video how to prepare and fill these with slip. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm testing it out on the table. One thing to watch out for is because you're squeezing this out, if any air bubbles were to occur, you might get a splatter. So I'm just patting this down on the table to make sure all of the slip is towards the front so that I don't get any air bubbles. And slip trailing is pretty much just drawing with this onto your leather hard pots. So this will probably work the best if the pots you have created are now at the leather hard stage. A little wetter is potentially preferable so that they shrink at similar rates. However, any stage of leather hard I have found works with this. As you can see, all I am doing is steadily squeezing that bulb squeezer so the slip flows gently out of the tip and onto my pot, creating a three-dimensional drawing. My example is using white clay onto a brown pot, so yours will actually be the same color. You will not get the same contrast as this. You can also see that I have already transferred a design onto my pot, allowing me to simply trace with the bulb squeezer. You might also find it easier to prepare your design ahead of time, or if you are confident in your drawing skills, you are welcome to go into this more freehand. If you're having trouble with the slip, if it's either not coming out of the bulb squeezer or say it looking really liquidy, you might need to remake the slip. It's possible that it's not a good consistency. The other tip I have is that occasionally what I like to do is just tap the tip of that bulb squeezer onto the table to ensure that there are no air bubbles as I start to go through all of the slip inside the squeezer. Here is just another option of something you can do with your slip trailing. I think some of you have seen this before. Say you draw out your design, and I like to use a thicker tip with this to allow more slip, to allow the fanning. But what you can do is once you have it drawn out, you have your lines, while the slip is still nice and wet, take a brush and just on one side of the slip, you can fan it out to create more of a painterly slip trailing type of design. And once you are satisfied with your designs, or if you feel you are done for the day, making sure this slip does not dry out is going to be very important. Hopefully you got it in good condition, so the right thing to do would be to make sure you are leaving it in good condition for the next person. So a lot of these have paper clips that fit perfectly inside that tip. You can either slip a paper clip right in there to keep that slip from drying out, or if there's nothing available to slip that into, if you could wrap that up with saran wrap, again, to keep it from drying out, that would be ideal. And then these are meant to be kept at the teacher's desk. So here's how you make slip if the consistency is either poor or if there is no slip left in the bulb squeezers. There should be plenty of buckets near the wheels with sloppy clay, so just grab a handful of that and then add a little bit of water. A lot of this is just going to be guess and check work, but you should also be able to locate my blender. Once you have a little bit of a mixture in there, pop the lid on, turn the blender on, and mix it up until you think you've gotten a good consistency. Now, upon first glance, this looks pretty good, but there is a further step I would like you to take to make sure that there are no chunks that could potentially clog up the bulb squeezer. Using some sort of clean cup and this strainer, which can be located in the drawer right next to the sink. I have two. What you're going to do is you're going to put the strainer over the cup and manually taking that slip out of the blender, you're going to force it through the strainer, and this will sieve out any chunks that you might have. Keep doing this until the cup is full. This final step will help you get the slip into the bulb squeezer. So this metal tip actually pops right out. This will also tell you if your slip is a good enough consistency. So squeezing that bulb, you're going to dip it into the slip and slowly release, and it should suck the slip right into it. If you feel like it is not sucking the slip up, that probably means the slip is too thick. If that is the case, put the slip back into the blender, add a little bit of water, and try again. If it gives you a little bit of resistance, but it still goes in, that probably means that the slip is a good consistency. You will have to do this several times to get that bulb squeezer adequately filled with slip. And then once you think you have enough, you can pop that tip back on and clean up the exterior. I'm just testing a little bit out and I think it looks good. It doesn't seem overly watery and I'm not squeezing too hard to get it out. It's flowing out nice and smoothly. And I know I do have to say this, but once you are done with all of that, before you go and do the slip trailing, please clean out the blender and clean out the strainer. When you are done, everything should look like this, and the strainer can go back in the drawer.